When your writing feels bland and unexciting, maybe it's because you need to put in some visuals. Hello everyone and welcome to Pen to Paper. I'm Leah Lindman and I'm feeling like I'm starting to lose my voice. There's something going on here. Let's hope that's not the case and that I don't lose it in the middle of this training. Yes, we're back to training. I'm really excited about this one. It's kind of, Basics 101, but it's something that's easy to forget. And that is how to write visually, to bring our writing to life in a way that's going to reach the readers, that's going to engage their senses, that's going to engage their emotions, and all that jazz. So I'm going to give kind of like my top 3 ways on how to increase that so that your writing pops. And then I'm actually going to share some examples with you from the book that I last read, or the 2 books ago that I read, to the book I'm currently reading, to even my own work today that I'm working on right now. So I hope this is a helpful video for you just to remember those basics. So the first way that we are going to get our writing to be very visual is to engage the 5 senses. So what are the 5 senses? We have touch, taste, sight, hearing, and what am I missing? Smell. That's right. So in any case where we're describing a setting or where we're describing characters, those are the perfect times to bust out at least 2 of them, maybe even 3 if it works in the flow of your writing, to really bring to life the picture that you're trying to paint with your words. So what's one way we can do this? When maybe your main character is meeting another character for the first time, that other character has a certain smell, and it could be a repugnant smell. It could be a smell that's warm and inviting. They could smell like vanilla and cherries, or that repugnant smell could be the smell of offsetting heavy alcohol breath. But you're going to want to use smells that, first of all, people understand. If you start using smells that maybe are difficult for people to relate to, I'm trying to think, perhaps one would be camphor. Now, the writing that I write, that could work because I write historical fiction, but you're probably going to not use that smell in a present day novel. What else? So we have smell, we have taste. Now, taste is probably one of the hardest ones to bring to light because your character's not always eating, but if they are taste testing something or they're at a dinner, then that's a great time to bring that out. Or maybe, I don't know, maybe they're tasting fresh snow or the taste of rain. So try to be creative, and when you can bring taste as a sense into your work. And then auditory. Now, maybe to help you come up with auditory visuals, maybe in different settings that you find yourself in daily life. It could be the coffee shop, it could be outside in nature, it could be with your family at home. Maybe take a few minutes to just close your eyes and try to hear all the different sounds that are around you. And that will help you be more in tune with sound in general, because obviously when our eyes are open and we're looking at stuff, the auditory senses go down and the visuals are way up. So maybe to help enhance this, take some time to do that little exercise. And to also, when you are speaking to people, that you're really also listening to them, to their tone and how they speak. If they're excited, how does their voice move? This is very helpful when you're thinking of writing dialogue, or you want to describe your characters as they are engaging in dialogue. So kind of take note of the different conversations you have with people and the different moods that that they find themselves in. And then take note of those tones and where maybe the emphasis goes when they speak their words, and maybe the body actions that go with them, because then you can use those same descriptives in your own work when you're talking about certain characters and how they're feeling and the tone in which they're speaking. And it just helps bring your dialogue more to life as well. So we've covered taste, smell, hearing, and now touch and visual, obviously. So when you're thinking of touch, think of the different surfaces that you can touch. So a book can be smooth, or it could be, if it's a hardback copy that is made out of material, then that might be have a little bit more friction. Think of velvet. Velvet is very, very soft. Think of water gliding over the hand. Think of maybe different types of surfaces and touches that you may not normally touch, but are good comparisons that you can use in your writing to just break people out of the normal touch sense. Just that's something that is used so often. I think we're very desensitized to it as readers and as writers. But if you can come up with specific descriptive touches that really evoke an emotion or a sense in your reader, then that's the key to writing really well. Good descriptions with touch. So try to come up with different ones to do with that. And the last one I'm going to talk about is visuals. Now, one way to enhance visuals is to be very descriptive with our colors and what else? Our colors and the atmosphere in which we find ourselves. So how light and darkness play, shadows and lighting against certain objects or characters in the stories. And then you can even go deeper into that using metaphors, which we'll get to in a little bit. But first, I do want to share a great example that I found that has to do with color and how specific you can get with color, and how when you are very specific with color, it really paints this amazing picture of, like, you can really see it in your mind. So this one I got from, I'm currently reading through the Complete Tales of Edgar Allan Poe as part of my Classic Ink book club for the months of March and April. I'm trying to read through Edgar Allan Poe's tales as many as I can. It's been difficult. I've been very busy. I was trying to get through a book that I had to arc read, which I was late on myself. So I'm finally done with that, and I can actually focus on this, which I'm looking forward to. But this is the first story in this book. It's called The Unparalleled Adventure of One Hans Fall. And this is, the third page, and I'm going to read to you, and then you're going to see how the colors really pop on this. Okay. This odd little gentleman was dressed in a loose surtout of sky blue satin, with tight breeches to match, fastened with silver buckles at the knees. His vest was of some bright yellow material. A white taffety cap was set jauntily on one side of his head, and to complete his equipment, a blood-red silk handkerchief enveloped his throat, and fell down in a dainty manner upon his bosom, in a fantastic bowknot of super-eminent dimensions. So you can tell all the colors, and it paints this great visual in your head. So we have the sky blue satin, breeches to match, silver buckles, vest, some bright yellow material, a taffety cap that's white, and the blood red silk handkerchief that's enveloping his throat. So as you can see, that's a master description using colors to describe a character. Now, sure, maybe not all your characters are that colorful, but you can use similar colors when you're talking about setting. Maybe you're in a very colorful setting. I just recently wrote a short story based in Peggy's Cove. Peggy's Cove is full of incredibly colorful houses, and you can be very, very specifically descriptive with your colors when you're writing in a setting like that. Or even if you're just showing contrast between colors, you know, the dark rich green of the earth versus the gray drabness of the mountains. I played that on the fly. That was really bad color comparison, but you can see how you can play with colors to really bring that imagery to life. What else do I have here? Yes, I wanted to bring up another point. Point 2 is that you show, don't tell. Okay, what does that mean? That's very easy to say, maybe a little bit harder to put into action. So I forgot to grab this. I'm gonna do this one moment. I have to bring you with me because I forgot to grab this book before doing this. Okay, are we back? There. Okay. So one way to show, don't tell. Okay, obviously we just talked about that with the 5 senses when you're talking about description and the way characters look. How do you show that when characters respond or react? Well, one great source that I want to share with you is the Emotional Thesaurus, a writer's guide to character expression. So instead of saying, he was mad, okay, yeah, we get it, but that's really generic. And there's different kinds of anger based on frustration, anger based on sadness. So what kind of anger is it? What facial expression is he showing? Or what is he doing with his hands? Or how is he moving? Is he pacing like a caged animal? Or is he just very stone, quiet, silent? So this book is great because you'll see at the beginning, let me find table of contents, and it goes by alphabetical order. So acceptance, admiration, adoration, agitation, amazement, amusement, anger, anguish, annoyance, anticipation, anxiety, appalled. That's just the A's, apprehension, awe, and then it goes into B's. So it's very specific on what kind of feeling you have. And then here it gives you the definition of what it means, and then the physical signs and behaviors that your character will want to show as a result of having this. Then it also has a short thing of mental responses, acute or long-term responses for this emotion, so how this can build up in your character, signs that this emotion is being suppressed, which also comes out in physical actions. And then what it can escalate to, what it can de-escalate to, which shows growth in your character either way, and associated power verbs. This also goes with the idea of choosing specific nouns and verbs that are specifically descriptive to what your character is feeling or the action that is happening. So instead of saying he ran, well, how did he run? Did he sprint? Did he jog? Did he, and you can go into more descriptive from there. So a thesaurus, this is an emotional thesaurus, but you should also have just a regular thesaurus on hand or use the internet, whatever you like to use at this point. But, you know, obviously when you're writing first draft, that's not going into play as much. You're just trying to get your thoughts down. But when you're going to the editing process, you want to make sure that your nouns and verbs are key and right on point, and that you're not just being lazy with the writing. You want to be very specific in how your characters show emotion and the action that is progressing, because all this helps give momentum to your plot and to the growth of your characters and to just, you know, engaging your readers, because no one wants to read a sentence with he ran or she was mad or she was so frustrated that she did this. It's just generic and it's been done before and it's not interesting. So I'm going to read, let me see here. I have a few more examples. Okay, so this is a short 2 little lines from what I'm writing right now or what I'm editing right now. So I'm currently writing this novella sequel to Unborn Melody, which is entitled His Girl. And this is a line that I wrote that I believe shows what's kind of feelings are going on in the character. And if you have suggestions, go ahead and throw them in the comments. Again, this is in editing, but I thought I'd just share something with you. So, Paul bit his bottom lip, drawing a little blood. He wiped his thumb against it. His other hand fisted upon the table as if he were trying to grip onto a lifeline. So I thought, biting the bottom lip obviously shows that he's been feeling anxious about something for a while, to the point that it's a repeat of this physical sign. And the hand fisting upon the table as if, and here I threw in a simile. So we'll go into that in a little bit as well. But he's holding on to something and he's just trying to keep us cool. So I thought that was, an okay way to show that. Okay, now I also have, is this it here? Yes. Yeah. This was one of my favorite scenes in War and Peace. I just read War and Peace recently, and I thought this was a perfect example of showing how a character is feeling and what they're going through and the action and all that leading to action. So I'm going to read this. And this, Leo Tolstoy is a genius. So if you want to read good writing, you should definitely read his work. All right, so here is the passage. He was the same as ever, but the feverish flush on his face, his glittering eyes rapturously gazing at her, and especially his neck, delicate as a child's and showing above the turned-down collar of his nightshirt, gave him a singularly innocent, childlike look, such as she had never seen in him before. She went up to him, and with a swift, supple, youthful movement, fell to her knees. He smiled and held out his hand to her. I can't remember if it was this scene or another one that made me cry, but there is a perfect way of showing how he views this other character and how in turn she views him and her physical response toward him because of the way she feels about him. So that is what you want to strive for with your characters. I have one last, let me see here. Actually, I'm going to save this one because I'm going to get into my third point. My last point to make your writing pop visually is to use similes and metaphors. So similes is when you compare a noun to something else using as or like. So as I talked about with my own writing, when I talked about how his hand was fisted as if he were holding on to a lifeline or something like that. Those are the words. So it gives you the idea that his hand is fisting because he's losing grip on what he has, and so he's looking for that lifeline, right? It just kind of gives you this connotation of him being in the water, he's drowning, he's swimming, and he's trying to reach out for something. So when you're using as or like to compare two things, that would be called a simile. Now you can also use metaphors. Now metaphors, when well done, are much more powerful than similes because it blends two realities or two concepts or two things together in a much more seamless way. And I found something. Now this one was really powerful because it actually uses a Bible story that everyone knows about, Goliath and David, and contrasting the French and the Russians against each other. So listen to this. He piggybacks on something incredibly classic, something that everyone knows, and you get a real sense of what he's trying to say for the story. Let the bold and insolent Goliath from the borders of France encompass the Russian realms with deadly horrors. Humble faith, the sling of the Russian David shall be swift to smite his head in his bloodthirsty arrogance. This is Prince Vasily talking to Bilibin, but if you don't know too much about War and Peace, it's about It takes place from 1805 to 1820, and it details the Napoleonic Wars, so Napoleon marching on Russia. And at some point he does. He overtakes Moscow. So that's, Goliath taking what is rightfully not his. And now he's talking about how Russia is going to be like David, and he's going to smite the giant, and he's going to fall, which, the French did. They left Moscow, had to leave because of the Russian winter, and were defeated by nature. So I thought that was a great example of a metaphor you can use, so you can piggyback on myth that most of your readers would know, or Bible stories, or something very common that's very something very well known and striking, to get your point across in the best way possible that you can. So those are my 3 tips to write as visually as you can. So 1, to use the 5 senses: taste, touch, smell, hearing, and smelling. And then to show, don't tell, in terms of description, character, and how your characters are moving and reacting throughout the scene, and using similes and metaphors. So I hope that this has been helpful. In the comments down below, share with me one that you would like to improve in or improve upon, and how you're going to go about doing that. Have a great week.